I don't remember the cake, or the presents, or the cheap-ass decorations she probably ordered last minute from Amazon. I only remember the sound of her voice, sharp like broken glass, cutting through the fake cheer of that living room. And then the laughter. God, the laughter. "He's the family mistake," Rachel said, glass of rose in hand, her lipstick perfect, her eyes empty. Her sister Tiffany burst out laughing, then pointed right at me. "Birth control is only 99% effective. He's the 1%. They howled like it was the best punchline they'd ever heard. Even her mother, that Botoxed gargoyle, smirked into her wine glass. And me? I stood there in the middle of it all, holding a slice of chocolate cake I didn't even want, with a stupid paper hat on my head and a smile slowly dying on my face. I'd just come home from work, tired as hell, expecting a quiet dinner. But instead, she threw a party for herself, clearly, and humiliated me like I was a clown at my own funeral. I dropped the plate, didn't say a word, just walked upstairs, grabbed my black backpack from the closet, shoved in some clothes, a razor, and the only photo of us that ever meant something before it all rotted from the inside out. Rachel didn't notice, or she didn't care. I passed by the living room on the way out. She didn't even look at me. Her back was to me, dancing with Chad, her co-worker from the gym. The one she said was just funny. Yeah, I bet he was funny. Real hilarious. That night, I walked. No destination. Just streets and silence and the echo of her voice in my skull. 6 years. That's how long it took for the past to find me again. I built a whole new life under a different name, working construction in Oregon, living in a rented cabin, growing a beard long enough to hide the man I used to be. I stopped celebrating birthdays. I stopped thinking about Rachel. Or at least, I tried. Until today. Because today, out of nowhere, they showed up. First, I heard the knock. Then, the crying. Then I opened the door and saw them, Rachel, Tiffany, and their mother, mascara streaking down their fake faces, looking like grief had chewed them up and spat them back out. "Ethan," she whispered. Her voice cracked. No, she didn't get to use my name like that. Not anymore. Rachel stepped forward, holding something in her hand. A photo. Of us. "Please. Just talk to me." I didn't answer. Not yet. Because in that moment, my brain wasn't processing her tears. It was replaying every damn second of that night. Her laughter. That smug face. The way she made me feel like nothing. I should have slammed the door. But I didn't. Not yet. Because I needed to know why she was here. What she wanted. And what the hell she'd done this time that made her come crawling back to the ghost of the man she buried 6 years ago. And deep inside, I had a hunch. This wasn't guilt. This wasn't love. This was desperation. And I was about to find out exactly what kind. I stepped aside, just barely, letting the door stay half open. Not because I wanted her in, but because I wanted to see her squirm. Rachel looked smaller than I remembered, or maybe it was just the weight of 6 years of silence pressing down on her now. Tiffany stood behind her, arms crossed, eyes darting. And their mother? Still pretending to be royalty in a world that forgot her name. I didn't invite them in. I didn't need to. "What the hell are you doing here?" I asked, voice low. Rachel tried to smile. Her lips trembled. "We didn't know where else to go." That pissed me off more than anything. Like I was some emergency contact after being discarded like a broken appliance. "So you found me. Congratulations. Now what?" She looked at Tiffany, then back at me. Her eyes filled up fast, and for a second, I thought maybe she was going to throw herself at me, beg for forgiveness, confess that the whole party was a lie, a misunderstanding, something. But no. "There's been an incident," she said. "Chad's gone. Something happened. And You mean Chad, the gym clown you were grinding on at my birthday while calling me a family mistake?" I snapped. She winced. Tiffany looked away. "Ethan, please," Rachel whispered, stepping closer. "It wasn't like that." I laughed. Cold. Bitter. Too loud. It echoed through the cabin. It was exactly like that. I heard it. I saw it. I lived it. Her shoulders dropped. She tried to hand me the photo again. I didn't take it. She placed it on the table instead, our wedding photo. Her smile fake even back then. I was stupid. Immature. I didn't see what I had. "You saw it," I said. "You just didn't want it." Silence. I could feel the tremble in my hands, but I hid them behind the door. Rachel wasn't here for forgiveness. She was here because something had gone terribly wrong in her world, and I was suddenly useful again. "What happened to Chad?" I asked, leaning against the doorframe. Rachel looked up, and her lips parted like she was about to tell me something she hadn't told anyone yet. He was involved in some stuff. Bad stuff. Money laundering. Drugs. I didn't know at first, I swear. Of course you didn't, I said, dryly. 2 nights ago, she continued, ignoring my sarcasm, he disappeared. And then someone came to the house. They said things. Threatened me. They think I know where the money is. I laughed again, but this time, it wasn't cold. It was pure disbelief. So now I'm your backup plan? You ruined my life, vanished for 6 years, and show up because your toy broke and now you're scared. Tiffany, who'd been quiet until now, finally spoke. She's in danger, Ethan. I looked at her. And she has no one else. I turned to Rachel, and for a moment, I almost pitied her. But then I remembered the way she smirked as her sister mocked me. The way she danced with Chad like I never existed. The way she called me a mistake to a room full of people, including her damn family. Not my problem, I said. Rachel's tears turned angry. She stepped forward, chest rising. You think you're so righteous, don't you? You ran away. You left everything. You didn't even fight for me. Fight. I repeated. For you? After what you did? You never understood me, she said. You never challenged me. Chad, he made me feel alive. I leaned in, whispering so only she could hear. He made you feel used. And now that he's gone, you're crawling back to the man who would have taken a bullet for you. She slapped me. I didn't flinch. The room went silent again, the air thick with a storm that had waited years to break. I didn't hit back. I just stepped back inside, grabbed the photo from the table, and tossed it in the fireplace. The flames caught fast. Rachel's mouth opened, but she didn't say a word. You can stay in town tonight, I said. But not here. Not with me. And I closed the door. Behind it, I leaned my head against the wood, heart pounding, fist clenched. The past was back, and it came carrying baggage. I didn't sleep that night. I lay on the couch, staring at the ceiling, listening to the wind whip through the pines outside. Every creak in the cabin made me think they were still out there, Rachel and her broken little circus of crocodile tears and half-truths. My mind kept looping back to the party, the words, the laughter. The sting of that slap barely registered. What hurt more was realizing she still had the nerve to act like I owed her something. Around 3 a.m., I poured myself a drink. Something strong. The kind that burns all the way down and makes you forget for about 5 seconds who you are. The knock came again just as I finished the glass. I opened the door slowly, and there she was. Alone this time. Drenched in rain, hoodie up, mascara bleeding into her cheeks like ink. No Tiffany. No mommy dearest. She looked like a ghost that had been dragged through hell. Please, she said, voice hoarse. I didn't know where to go. I should have shut the door again. But I didn't. Because I wanted answers. And maybe, just maybe, I wanted her to see what she'd done, to sit in it, to suffocate in the stench of her own betrayal. I let her in. She stepped past me without waiting for permission, shaking the rain off like a stray mutt. She went straight to the couch and sat down like she still had any right to feel comfortable in my space. You have 5 minutes, I said. Start talking. She stared into the dark fireplace, the charred remains of our photo barely visible in the ashes. It wasn't supposed to happen like this, she began. Back then, with Chad, it started as a joke. I just wanted to feel something different. You were always safe. Predictable. He was danger. Exciting. I scoffed. Exciting? You mean he knew how to manipulate desperate women? She didn't argue. I thought I was winning, she whispered. Thought I could keep both lives. Laugh at you with my friends, then cry when you weren't around because I knew deep down you were the one who would have done anything for me. And still you spat on me, I said, stepping closer. In front of your family. Your friends. You called me a mistake. I was drunk, she whispered. That's not an excuse. That was the truth you were hiding behind a glass of wine. She looked up at me now, eyes red. I didn't realize what I had until it was gone. Don't give me cliches, Rachel. I've lived without you. You haven't earned the right to talk like this means something. She flinched. But I wasn't done. You humiliated me in front of your entire social circle. You didn't cheat once. You built a whole second life around it. Lied. Mocked. Replaced me. Silence. She pulled her knees up, wrapping her arms around them like a child. After you left, things got worse. Chad got darker. The parties turned into deals. And then threats. And when I finally wanted out, he said if I left him, he'd ruin me. Said he had videos. Photos. Stuff I never agreed to. My stomach clenched. You let him record you? Her eyes darted away. I didn't know at first. Then I did. But by then, It was too late. I turned and walked to the window, trying to breathe, trying not to explode. The idea of that bastard not only taking my wife but filming it like some trophy made something primal stir in my chest. He threatened to send them to my job, my family. Blackmailed me for months. I was trapped, Ethan. You weren't trapped, I snapped. You were caught. There's a difference. She nodded slowly, lips trembling. Then he vanished, she said. Last week. No one's seen him. Cops are sniffing around. I think he's dead. And now they're looking at me. I turned around. Why are you here, Rachel? She looked at me, eyes wide, vulnerable, shaking like a leaf. Because if they come for me, if this goes to court, I have no one else. And you were always good. Honest. I thought maybe you'd help me tell the truth. I stared at her, long and hard. You want me to save you, I said. The same man you buried under your designer heels and dirty secrets. I'm begging you, she whispered. I walked up to her slowly, leaned down close so she could hear every syllable. I buried Ethan Parker the night you laughed at me on my birthday. Whoever you think I am now, he's gone. And you killed him. I stood up, walked toward the stairs. I'll sleep upstairs. You leave by morning. Her voice cracked again. What if someone's watching? I didn't even turn around. Then I hope they brought popcorn. Because the show's just getting started. I didn't sleep upstairs either. Just sat by the window with the bedroom door cracked open, watching the tree line. The wind made the branches sway like hands waving warning signals, and I listened for footsteps, for engines, for anything that said the past hadn't come alone. She stayed downstairs, silent. I didn't hear crying. No pacing. No whispering on the phone. Just silence. The kind that wraps itself around your throat and makes you feel like something's coming. At 6:17 a.m., my phone buzzed. Unknown number. I didn't answer. A minute later, a text came in. We know she's there. I read it once. Deleted it. Got dressed. When I came down, she was curled up on the couch, wearing one of my old hoodies like it still meant something. Her hair was tied back sloppily, makeup wiped away, face raw. She looked up at me like a dog expecting to be hit. You got a text last night, I said. Want to guess from who? She sat up fast. What did it say? That they know you're here. Her hands began to tremble. They'll come. I don't know what they'll do. Chad crossed serious people. You dragged me into this, I said. Dragged yourself here like a grenade you forgot how to disarm. I didn't have a choice. Wrong again. She stood, barefoot, tense. I know you hate me. I deserve it. But I'm telling the truth now. Little late for truth. There was a long pause, and then she said something I didn't expect. They threatened our son. I froze. I turned slowly. What did you just say? She bit her lip. Ethan, please don't get mad. You said our son. She nodded. Slowly. Carefully. You were pregnant when I left? She nodded again. My head spun. You never called. Never tried to tell me. I was scared, she said. Ashamed. And Chad, he didn't want me contacting you. He said the kid would grow up better without the loser who ran away. I couldn't breathe. I sat down hard on the wooden chair by the table. A son. Mine. Where is he? I asked, voice barely holding together. With Tiffany, she said. He's safe, for now. But the people after Chad, they asked about him. That's when I knew I couldn't stay hidden anymore. I looked at her, and for the first time, I saw her fear wasn't just selfish, it was real. You're not staying here, I said. But you're not going anywhere alone, either. We'll get the kid. Then we figure this out. She looked like she wanted to cry again, but stopped herself. Thank you, she whispered. Don't thank me, I said. This isn't forgiveness. This is war. And I just found out I've got blood in the fight. I made coffee. Black. Strong enough to burn away the shaking in my fingers. She sat across from me, still wrapped in that hoodie, silent. And for the first time in years, I felt something move in me that wasn't just hate or bitterness. It was purpose. I had a son, and nobody was going to touch him. We left the cabin just after sunrise, the fog still hanging low across the fields like a warning. I didn't say a word to her on the drive. She sat in the passenger seat, hands clutched tight in her lap, eyes locked on the road ahead, too scared to even breathe wrong. Good. She should be scared. My son. That phrase hadn't stopped echoing in my skull since she said it. And every time it did, something twisted tighter inside me, rage, guilt, disbelief, all of it tangled in one relentless knot. I had a son, and I didn't even know his name. His name's Eli, she finally said, almost like she could hear my thoughts. I gripped the wheel harder. How old is he? 5.5. I looked at her. Does he know about me? She hesitated. He thinks Chad was his father. I nearly pulled the car over right then and there. You let him be his father? I had to tell him something. And Chad, he was around, and I thought, You thought wrong, I snapped. She didn't say anything after that. Tiffany's place was a rundown duplex on the edge of town. Faded siding, lawn overgrown. I didn't expect much, but even this felt worse than I'd imagined. I parked 2 houses down and scanned the street. Quiet. No cars out of place. No movement in windows. Rachel unbuckled her seatbelt like it was made of explosives. She's probably still asleep. We go together. I cut in. I'm not letting you walk in there alone. Her eyes widened a little, but she nodded. The porch steps creaked as we walked up. Rachel knocked lightly, then rang the bell. No answer. She rang again. Nothing. Something's off, I muttered. Rachel's face drained. She tried the handle. Unlocked. We stepped in. The living room was trashed, couch overturned, lamp shattered, a wine glass spilled and dried into the carpet. Eli, she called out, voice cracking. I moved faster, clearing the hall, checking each room. Bathroom, empty. Kitchen plates smashed on the floor, drawers pulled open. Like someone had been searching for something. And then I saw the note, taped to the fridge. For words, all caps, printed in thick black Sharpie. You owe US now. Rachel let out a sharp sob and crumpled to the floor. Where is he? I demanded. She shook her head violently. I don't know. I swear, Ethan, I don't know. She was supposed to be watching him. She promised. I grabbed my phone, dialing 911 before my brain even caught up. But I stopped. No cops. Not yet. These weren't the kind of people who left police-friendly messes. And if they took Eli, calling the cops might make them panic. And panic could get him hurt. I turned back to Rachel, who was shaking and hyperventilating on the floor like the world had caved in. I crouched down, grabbed her shoulders. You need to pull it together. Right now. Look at me. Her eyes met mine, wild and lost. Think. Who would have done this? Names. Faces. Anything. She closed her eyes, lips moving like she was trying to dig into her own mind. There's a guy named Luis. One of Chad's suppliers. He came to the house once. Said if Chad disappeared, someone had to pay the tab. I didn't think they'd take Eli. I stood up, phone already in my hand. Then we're paying him a visit. What are you going to do? I looked at her like she'd just asked if fire was hot. Whatever I have to. She grabbed my arm. You can't just walk into that world, Ethan. You don't know these people. I know what it means to have someone you care about taken from you, I said. And I know what it means to have nothing left to lose. She didn't say anything. I headed back to the truck. Started the engine. Looked at her standing there in the doorway, shaking like a leaf in a hurricane. Either get in or stay behind. But I'm getting my son back. She didn't hesitate this time. Rachel climbed into the truck, slammed the door shut, and fastened her seatbelt with trembling hands. The silence between us was loaded now, not with resentment like before, but with the weight of something far worse, the sickening dread that our son was out there, terrified, in the hands of men who didn't see him as a child, just leverage. Where do we find Luis? I asked, eyes on the road. He used to run a car shop near Fremont. It was a front, obviously. You'll know it when you see it, black steel fence, no sign. Only opens for people who knock right. Is he dangerous? She nodded slowly. He used to carry a revolver tucked in the back of his jeans. The kind of guy who talks softly and then breaks your ribs when you blink wrong. Perfect, I muttered. We hit the highway, and my fingers were gripping the steering wheel so hard they were losing color. Rachel kept looking at me, like she wanted to say something but didn't know how. I didn't care. My head was somewhere else, flashing with images of Eli. A little boy I'd never met. Did he look like me? Did he even know I existed? Was he crying right now, scared out of his mind in some filthy back room with strangers yelling outside the door? I felt like I could explode. We pulled off the highway and onto a cracked side road that cut between warehouses and chain-link fences. Just like she said, there it was, a black steel fence, half rusted, wrapped around a long, low building with dark-tinted windows. No sign. No open bay doors. Just silence. I parked across the street. I'm going in alone. Rachel's hand shot out. Ethan, wait. No. If they see you, they'll think this is personal. Emotional. It'll make us weak. I'm going in like I don't give a damn about you or the boy. Like I'm just here to settle a debt. That's insane. I looked at her, dead in the eyes. So is taking my son. She swallowed hard and nodded. I stepped out, adjusted my jacket, and walked toward the gate. There was a buzzer tucked behind the fencing, half covered in grime. I pressed it once, twice. A camera tilted down. I stared into it. The gate buzzed. I walked through. Inside the lot, the building looked even more abandoned than from the street. Weed-covered pavement, a broken-down muscle car near the back wall, its tires flat and windows smashed. Then the door opened. A man stepped out, tall, lean, mid-30s, wearing a long leather coat despite the heat. Beard trimmed close, expression unreadable. "You're not one of mine," he said calmly. "I'm here for the boy." His face didn't change. "Lots of boys in the world." "Be more specific." "Eli. 5 years old. Light brown hair. Green eyes. He was taken from a duplex on Holloway. You're holding him because his mother owes you for the mess Chad left behind." Now his eyes lit up a little. Not kindness. Recognition. "I remember Eli," he said. "Cute kid. Quiet." I clenched my jaw. "Where is he?" He stepped closer, arms relaxed but confident. "And you are?" "His father." He tilted his head. "Funny. Didn't know he had one." "You do now." There was a pause. He studied me like he was trying to decide what kind of man I was underneath the tough face and calm voice. "You here to negotiate? Or threaten?" "I'm here to trade." His eyebrows lifted. I reached into my jacket and pulled out a flash drive. Chad's ledger. Names, amounts, drops. Everything. That part was a bluff. I had no idea what was actually on it. Just something I pulled from Rachel's drawer back at the cabin that looked important enough to pass as leverage. Luis's eyes narrowed, and I could tell he was intrigued. "You're playing a dangerous game." "No. I'm ending one. You let him go. I leave the drive. You never hear from us again." He looked at me for a long time. Then, finally, he turned and nodded toward the door behind him. A second man appeared. Taller. Meaner looking. And holding a small hand. "Eli." My chest locked. There he was. So small. So quiet. Wearing a superhero shirt 2 sizes too big. Hair messy, face pale but unharmed. He looked at me confused, scared, unsure. I knelt. "Hey, buddy. I'm Ethan. I'm your dad." He stared at me for a second, then looked at Luis, then back to me. His lip trembled. "You came to get me?" he asked. I swallowed hard. "I came to take you home." He didn't move right away. Just looked up at the guy holding his hand, like he needed permission. The man hesitated, then let go. Eli took one cautious step toward me, then another. When he got close enough, I opened my arms. He didn't throw himself at me like some movie scene. He stepped in slow, testing, and when his head touched my chest and I wrapped my arms around him, I felt it, that moment. That pulse in my ribs that said, "This is mine. My son." His little voice was muffled. "Are you going to take me away from the scary men?" I squeezed him tighter. "You'll never see them again." Luis watched all of it with an unreadable face. I stood up, still holding Eli against my chest, and tossed him the flash drive. He caught it midair, gave it a casual glance, and slipped it into his coat. "I hope for your sake you didn't lie to me," he said. I didn't answer. Just back toward the gate, heart pounding, pulse in my ears. Every instinct screamed, "Don't turn your back on him," but I had to get Eli out. Now. Rachel was waiting in the truck, pacing like a trapped animal. When she saw me with him, her hand flew to her mouth. Tears came instantly. She ran toward us, but stopped short when Eli buried his face into my neck. "He's okay," I said, brushing past her. She followed in silence. Inside the truck, I buckled him into the back seat. He held my thumb the entire time, like it grounded him. Or maybe me. Rachel climbed in beside me, whispering, "Did they hurt him?" "No. But one wrong move, and they would've." She looked back at Eli, who had already dozed off, one small hand gripping the edge of my jacket. Then she turned to me. "I owe you everything." "No," I said. "You owe him everything. I just did what you should have done 5 years ago." She swallowed hard and said nothing. We drove without talking, just the hum of tires and Eli's light breathing in the back. Somewhere halfway back to the cabin, Rachel finally broke the silence. "There's something else you should know." My grip tightened on the wheel. "Of course there is. Chad, he wasn't just running drugs. He was working with a cop. Someone on the inside. That's how they stayed clean for so long. That's how Luis knew who to pay off and when. But if Chad's really dead, that cop will be next. And if that cop knows I know, he'll come after you." She nodded. "No," I said. "He'll come after all of us." That shifted something between us. This wasn't just about betrayal anymore. This was about survival. When we got back to the cabin, I carried Eli inside and tucked him into the bed upstairs. He didn't even wake up. just curled into the blanket like he'd never known anything softer. Rachel watched me from the doorway, arms folded, but this time there was no sharpness in her face, just something close to shame. "I don't deserve him," she whispered. "No," I said. "You don't." She looked down at her feet. I walked past her, back down to the living room. She followed, hesitant. "You're going to tell me everything now," I said, lighting the fireplace. "Every name, every deal, every threat." She nodded. Then she started talking. And by the end of it, I realized something I hadn't felt in a long time. This wasn't over. It hadn't even begun. She talked for over an hour. Her voice cracked a dozen times, but I didn't let her stop. I wanted everything, every lie, every secret, every bastard who had sat at their fancy dinners smiling while planning ruin in the background. She gave names, places, details I never thought she was smart enough to remember, but it was all there. Turns out, Rachel wasn't just Chad's side piece. She'd been used as a courier. Unwitting at first, then paid off in little luxuries. Purses, shoes, fake attention. She carried flash drives and makeup palettes, signed off on documents she never read, even used Eli's name once to throw off a transaction. It made me sick. "You let them tie her son to that filth?" I said, voice shaking. She looked down. "I thought I could protect him." "You couldn't even protect yourself." By the time she finished, the sun had fully set. The fire crackled between us, but it didn't warm a damn thing. She looked exhausted, hollowed out. But I didn't care. She'd done this. And now the weight of it was finally crushing her. "You should go," I said. Her head snapped up. "What? You're not staying here." "But, Ethan, I don't have anyone else. I can't go back." "You're not going back. But you're not dragging this mess deeper into my house." "What about Eli?" "He stays with me." The silence that followed was brutal. "You think I'd leave him?" she whispered. "I know you should. You already left him once when you chose Chad. You let another man raise him while lying to both of us." Tears filled her eyes again, but I stood up. "You're going to check into a motel. You'll stay low. You'll change your name if you have to. You'll talk to no one unless I tell you to. And you'll just take him," she asked, voice barely above a whisper. "I'm his father. I didn't ask to be cut out. I didn't get a chance to show up back then. But I'm here now. And I will burn this entire world down before I let anyone else take him from me." She covered her mouth, turned away, and nodded. I handed her a set of keys. "There's an old hatchback in the barn. No GPS. Take it. Use cash. I'll contact you when it's safe." She looked at me one last time, like maybe she thought there was still something left between us. Some ember of that naive love we used to have. There wasn't. She left without another word. I stood at the door, watching the headlights disappear into the trees. Then I went upstairs. Eli was awake now, sitting on the edge of the bed, rubbing his eyes. He looked up at me, unsure. "Where's the lady?" he asked. "She had to go somewhere," I said gently. "She'll be okay." He stared at me for a second. "Are you going to go too?" I sat beside him and pulled him into my side. "No, buddy. I'm not going anywhere." His head rested against my arm. And just like that, the storm inside me slowed. For the first time in years, I felt something like peace. Not because everything was fixed, but because I finally knew who I was, what I had to do, and who I'd do it for. Later that night, when he fell asleep again, I stared into the fire and thought about everything I'd learned. Rachel was right about one thing. I was the family mistake. But sometimes, the mistake is the only thing left with enough guts to fix what's broken. And God help anyone who tries to take him from me now.